super middleweight challenge match. That means that Oliver Miller, who is the North American super middleweight title holder, will go against the current world champion in the middleweight division, Manson Gibson. And actually, this is a revenge match because 5 years ago, Miller was already victorious against an up-and-coming Manson Gibson.
Manson Gibson was up and coming at that time, and they call him the Master Blaster. This boy can kick. He's got 33 knockouts, 29 knockouts by kick. He is challenging to move up in weight against Oliver, and it is more than a rematch.
Yeah, they're not the closest of friends. They're both very professional. They're both very skilled. But there's that animosity there that'll add an element of suspense in tonight's match. So stay with us. We'll return to the St. Paul Radisson Grand Ballroom for this big challenge match in the super middleweight division in just a moment.
Gibson is an excellent opponent. He and I fought for the North American title about 5 years ago in Columbus, Mississippi. I won that title. It was an open title at the time. Following that, Manson dropped down to a lower weight division, went on to win the world title. I have had 2 opportunities to win the world title, once in Wales and another opportunity in Shreveport. There were a lot of political things going on at the time. I have a mandatory rematch coming up October 8th with Charlton Young. I'm preparing for that. This is basically a warm-up fight, but I'm not looking past this fight right now. Right now I'm looking at Manson, and we're here to get with the program.
Me and him fought before, early in my career, when I got an opportunity to fight for the North American title. He captured the title, and this is my opportunity as a world champion to get back, because I would like to step up and take his title and also become a world champion as a super middleweight.
That's my question. You've changed your weight category. How will this affect you?
Well, I probably won't be as strong as I've been as a middleweight, but I think I'm still quick and smooth enough to beat him.
Any specific strategy we should watch for?
Punches and kicks.
Right now, let's go to ring announcer Rich Newberry.
Folks, we're ready to continue. We're ready to rock and roll. I promise that this next fight is definitely hard rock, as we have not one but 2 title holders from different weight divisions and classifications. Fighting in the blue corner, all the way from Columbus, Mississippi, with a record of 35 victories, 4 defeats, 1 draw, 15 victories by knockout. At 180 pounds, the North American super middleweight champion, Oliver Miller. Fighting out of the red corner, from Chicago, Illinois, 6 foot 1 inches tall, 176 pounds with a record of 37 wins, 5 losses, 29 victories by knockout, Manson, the Master Blaster Gibson!
This one is going to be fun. No question about it. Manson Gibson, Oliver Miller, 2 hard, tough pros. 2 men who have earned belts. 2 men who have fought once before 5 years ago, and 2 men who are not exactly fond of each other. You can't get a better scenario.
Oliver Miller weighed in at 180 pounds. Manson Gibson came in at 176. Oliver will be defending his title at 166 coming up soon. And Manson Gibson is the normal 161-pound world champion. So they're stepping up on this challenge match to meet each other in the square ring.
Manson Gibson with 22 knockouts by kicks.
Big-time knockouts, too.
I mean,
Man
we're
has
talking
been seen
spectacular.
unbelievable. He has been all over the world. Just came back from a European tour of Japan. This guy is the Master Blaster.
In Japan, he's the only fighter to go there and beat 2 champions 5 days apart. Can you believe that? 2 champions 5 days apart in Japan a year ago, in the summer of '90, over a year ago. And I'll tell you something, he's undefeated in Japan. Oliver Miller, though, no slouch at all. This 36-year-old is the super middleweight champion. He's been all over the world. And I'll tell you what else he is. Not only is he an outstanding champion as a kickboxer, the man you're looking at now is one of the top car salesmen in the United States.
Yeah. He sells at a Ford dealership, and he is a top-notch salesperson. Great personalities on both fighters. I mean, they're tremendous people.
Real gentlemen, real pros. You say the word pro, and both of these men come to mind.
Manson's got a sparkle in his eye, too. He's a great, great champion. Lived well. He was on broke in Las Vegas many, many years ago on the St. Louis international team that was on tour, and from that time on, went right to the top as a world champion.
Referee Rick Bush giving them their instructions. 8 kicks per round. 5 rounds, all 2 minutes. Standing 8 count. 3 knockdown rule is in effect. And we are ready for what is going to be one great fight, a challenge match. Manson Gibson, Oliver Miller. And we're set to go in first round action. The determination on the two faces, incredible.
And Manson's come a long way since the first time these two met. Manson says he's just another fighter, ready to go. Oliver opens up with the first contact to the left side of the face. Good combination. Both fighters working their way in and out. Manson drives a good kick to the lower ribs. Both fighters in great shape.
And these men know how to utilize the kicks. I mean, they're not superfluous. They're arsenal.
Double combination, spinning heel kick. Referee calling for the tape, needs to have it taken care of.
Of course, the soles of the feet are bare, and those pads are taped on and strapped on.
Jabs followed by a roundhouse kick to the midsection of Oliver Miller. Manson wants to get it on right away. He's looking for a quick, fast knockout.
I don't think he's going to get it with a pro like Miller. He's tough enough to do it.
Oliver Miller's got a great tradition in the ring. He's a good defensive fighter. He can see what's coming. He can move around. Very adept in the ring.
You know what that's akin to, for those of you who are not real experienced in the martial arts and watching, that's akin to a quarterback reading defenses. It just opens up before his eyes. Some people see a scramble out there. A quarterback would see it, and now that's how Miller sees it. You can see what's coming.
You can see it by a twist of the foot. You can see it by a turn of the hip. You can see how the body's going to come in. You can tell what kind of power you're going to get. On the flurry on the combination, Manson was trying to come in, but again, he's leaning back, so his hands really weren't doing any damage. Leaving his hands open, trying to give a different type of boxing technique to throw Oliver Miller off a little bit. More of the traditional Oriental style.
At the closing seconds of the first round, scheduled 5-rounder in the challenge match between two champions of different divisions in a non-title fight. Gibson on the right in the lime green kickboxing trousers. Oliver Miller knew that was coming and backed away from that back fist. And that's the end of the first round. Frank Babcock, it's difficult to score that one. Gibson clearly the aggressor, but Miller was ready defensively.
Well, that's true, and what Miller was hitting with his combinations, he was scoring to the inside, just as Manson was scoring on the combinations, too. Gibson is using his kicks very, very effectively throughout the round.
Here's a perfect example we're about to see.
Leads with a fake on the left, then follows with a left roundhouse kick, going to the midsection, trying to push Oliver Miller back towards the ropes. Couldn't really find Oliver. Oliver again, knowing what's coming. Side kick coming from the rear. Good combinations following with Oliver Miller hitting the left roundhouse kick, and Manson using his hands very effectively.
Ready for second round action. Manson Gibson, good look at him, against Oliver Miller. Miller likes to stick and move.
Both fighters warmed up, ready to go. Tested each other out during the first round. Manson's going to push him to the ropes with good combinations of hooking heel kicks.
Yeah, but what defense by Miller? He wasn't there for the follow-up. Good left that time by Manson Gibson that lands.
Manson trying to work him into the corner. Oliver keeps moving around. Good defensive fighting. Manson's a little wild at the moment. Going for leg kicks, leg sweeps, roundhouse kick.
It's almost as if Gibson has a lot more to prove than Miller does. Miller's just saying, son, I beat you before, and I'm going to do it again in a psychological sense. He blocked that kick.
Good multiple combinations. Manson trying to come in, but again, he doesn't score because the kick is absolutely blocked.
Miller has two boys. Both of them are black belts. And he has a daughter who's a teenager who's not into the martial arts. But I'm sure she's well protected.
I'm certain she is.
Be tough to date her.
Oliver Miller is the current North American champion in 2 weight divisions above where Manson Gibson normally fights. Manson stepped up to this challenge match because he wants to move up. Manson Gibson, current world champion.
That was interesting there. Gibson was hung up on the ropes, protected the back of his head with his glove, but that was after Miller realized the situation and backed away. It would have been illegal to blast him.
That would have been an illegal move. It's good sportsmanship of 2 world-class athletes. Also letting the referee know that he was tied up by holding his glove over the back of his head like that.
Rick Bush doing some maintenance work on the ring.
Professionals are ready to go.
Late in the second round, scheduled 5-rounder. Manson Gibson backing Oliver Miller up.
Manson using long sweep kicks similar to tie kicks at the moment.
Big right lead by Miller.
Both fighters dived up against the corner.
Even that big right over the top by Gibson did not connect on Miller.
And that's the end of the round.
Yeah, we conclude round 2.
Just again, the kicks are being blocked right off of Miller's arms. All of these techniques which Manson would use against unprofessional fighters, people that don't have the ring experience that an Oliver Miller would have, he'd get right in and he'd hit them. But it's not working here.
I think Miller's scoring more points. He's doing less of it, but when he does, he's landing a little bit.
He knows where the targets are. He knows when to follow. He knows when to get out of the way.
Third round action in this challenge match. Ready to get underway. Manson Gibson already in the ring waiting for Oliver Miller. Miller, the North American super middleweight champ.
Manson hopes with a good rear heel kick. Hits on the lower leg.
Which, of course, doesn't score.
Lower ribs, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Manson Gibson, of course, is the world middleweight champion. That's, of course,
slip on the water.
A lot of moisture in the ring. Some left over from in the corners. And more tape coming loose on Manson Gibson's footgear. They restart.
Multiple combinations again take Manson Gibson completely off of his feet as he's spinning. No target there.
Miller respects the power of those Gibson kicks, no question. But he hasn't felt them yet.
Gibson's using his hands now, trying to get to the end section and work on the stomach of Oliver.
Do you think Gibson's going to succumb to some frustration and let his guard down, just trying to get Miller to come out?
Well, I think he will. I think there's no question about that. He has to either tie him up, and stop the fighting, because Oliver's a good fighter on the inside. And Manson knows it.
Middle of the third round out of 5. Here from St. Paul, Minnesota. Steve Grad and Frank Babcock with you. Good left that time by Miller.
Left roundhouse, right roundhouse, followed by another left roundhouse, moving in. Left roundhouse, he's trying to bury it in the midsection of Oliver Miller. Got Oliver up against the rope. In the corner, scored on the head. Referee breaks him up.
Miller's kicks have not been effective either.
Distance and timing is what both fighters are using their kicks for at the moment.
That sack fist was blocked by Miller. Gibson telegraphed everything as the round ends. End of round 3. That round, I think, was clearly Gibson's. If you're splitting hairs, that one was Gibson's.
I think it was. There's no question about that. Gibson's good showboat. Gives the crowd a great show for their money.
He doesn't even use the stool between rounds. Miller's got good defense.
Manson Gibson jabbing his way in to Oliver Miller, spinning back fist. And it's blocked by Oliver Miller.
And I'll tell you, those are efficient blocks by Miller. They're not the kind that you take in the upper arm that wear your endurance down and make you tired. It was on the forearm, and it was at the last second.
Now, more importantly, he's blocking it in a manner that the judges can see beyond a shadow of a doubt it didn't hit him. You're not going to score if you let the judges know he blocked it. Getting that arm up in that type of position lets them know. All three judges can see.
Round 4 is underway. Manson Gibson on the right, slipping a little bit. Yeah, he's going southpaw. Just anything to try to get some leverage on Miller. Switches back to orthodox. Nothing connects. Nothing connects. The front kick does a little bit. Miller the aggressor now. Not a knockdown. Miller has had that poker face from start to finish so far.
These two fighters know each other. They know each other very well.
Side kick does score a point because it pushed Gibson away.
Gibson throws a side kick, which is a very unusual side kick. There's only 2 or 3 fighters in sport to do that. Blocked, good. Spinning heel kick blocked, however, off the glove of Oliver Miller.
Tell me about Gibson's side kick.
Gibson's side kick, you'll see him turn his back to his opponent, and then he'll throw that, he'll cock that kick and then throw it backwards. It looks like he's going to turn and run, and he throws that kick backwards. On an opponent that's an aggressor, it catches him. But Oliver is a defender. He waits for Manson to come to him. Oliver's pressing it now. He's going after Manson.
And that, again, is smart strategy, too. In the later rounds, you become more aggressive of an even fight. Not once was he touched there. Let's see. Knockdown. Oh, Miller's mad. He says, I slipped. Oh,
That
Miller's
was a slip. There's no question that was a slip. Referee should not have called that as a knockdown.
That could be the whole fight right there. If they maintain what they've been doing, that...
Good combination.
Shot.
Good spinning heel kick. Caught Oliver on the side of the head. Oliver trying to force the fight back, but they're tied up.
A few seconds left in the 4th round. Could Oliver have been emotionally down for the 1 second by the bad break he caught? It looked like it. He was not himself on that and allowed himself to be kicked by Manson Gibson. That was the first flaw in his defense as the 4th round ends.
He didn't have his eyes on him. That was a flaw.
You know, these men are so disciplined, emotionally and physically. That was the first time that he lost his concentration. Here we go for the standing 8 count. Was it a slip or a knockdown? Let's see.
That was a slip.
It was a slip. He did it to himself.
Did it to himself. He was off balance, and he slipped purely. It was not a knockdown. There was nothing that knocked him down.
Here's what happened right after that when he lost his guard.
Lost his guard. Manson did a double spin, came around, and just hit him hard with that heel kick.
So the 4th round will go to Oliver Miller's opponent, Manson Gibson, and depending how they scored that 1st round and the 2nd round, which were very close, Miller's going to have to do some real damage here in the 5th round.
Absolutely.
5th and final round. Manson Gibson comes out strong.
Comes out strong, spinning heel kick and a roundhouse kick. Trying to chase him. He wants an extra point. He wants it to look good. A lot of power coming in. Oliver Miller just jamming forward. Roundhouse kick from Manson Gibson.
Miller was starting to take the fight to Gibson early in the 4th round until he slipped and was called a knockdown. Then it was all Gibson. Good left by Gibson.
Good counter lefts by Oliver.
Yeah, but they didn't score as well. Body shots by Miller.
Body shots by Miller on the underside.
And they do land. I like these men. They're so professional. You know, they're very enjoyable in that regard. You're right about those almost turning and running shots by Gibson on those kicks.
And a good right roundhouse into Oliver Miller's lower rib.
And he looks like he's going to go southpaw at the time. Mixes it up, goes back to orthodox. I don't think Miller's ever switched during the fight.
Oliver sticks right to the basics.
That was a knockdown.
That was a knockdown.
You know, Gibson worked 4.5 rounds to set that one up.
Yeah, he was off balance. It could be called a slip, but it was a knockdown. The kick actually did send him backwards, forcing the slip and a knockdown. Manson knows he's got him. This is a challenge match that could set up a title runoff for these guys down the road.
5th and final round coming to a close. Gibson's adrenaline really flowing now after that last one.
Multiple combinations from Manson Gibson.
Barely connects on the spinning back fist, gets out of control.
Manson is really wild. He wants it.
He doesn't care though, the fight's over. 5 rounds, 2 real pros, 2 real pros. Oliver Miller, and Manson Gibson doing the standing backflip. It'll be interesting to hear the scoring on this one. I'd have to say though that it's going to be Gibson.
I'm sure it would have to be.
Well, that certainly was a very well-deserved round of applause.
Here's the 5th round knockdown by Gibson. This kick was something to behold.
Sets it up with a great punch to the head, backs Oliver Miller up. Oliver jabbing back with the left, hard. Gibson chasing him with that those kicks, and then that spinning heel kick that knocks him down.
Didn't get him in the head, though. The block was up and ready. He was losing his balance. And talk about efficiency. That time, Gibson really had it because
he had where he wanted him. He was moving backwards. He was just cross-stepping at the same time. So when he hit him, knocked him out.
World Championship Kickboxing continues after this.
We have a unanimous decision. Manson Gibson performed 73 kicks. Oliver Miller 57 kicks in 5 rounds of full contact. Judge Bill Miller scores the fight 50-47. Judge Tom Sullivan scores the fight 50-47. Judge Joe Saba scores the fight 50-45 for the winner by unanimous decision. Manson, the Master Blaster Gibson!
The Master Blaster does it, beating the man who defeated him earlier, Oliver Miller.